Hello there, TBU fans. It is Shroomraver here, and welcome one and all to the Battle Union news. This is week 4 of this, and I know it's a bit rare for me to be sort of leading these things off. Unfortunately, Schady is not feeling so well today. He's going to be taking a little break from recording the Union news, which means we have had to find ourselves a little temporary replacement, and who better than the man who took over from Sizz when he was absent from taking part. We have Jack, aka the Donphanatic. Say hey, everyone. Say hello to everyone.
Hello, everybody. It's me, the Donphanatic. Yeah. Okay. I said hello.
Yeah, I got you. So yeah, we've got Jack here to help out with the Union news, which is grand because as someone who's taken part, he knows the teams and the players maybe a little bit better than myself or Schady do, and so he can maybe give some extra little insight into what is going on in their minds.
Hopefully I can.
Absolutely. Now, Jack being here means he's not necessarily in charge of his team. This is not so bad. We have a little bit of news on the managerial front to start things off. First up, Sizz. Sizz is kind of back now, which is grand. He took charge of his team, the Somerset Scissors, in week 4, as Jack very kindly had stepped in while he was away. Good to see Sizz back, isn't it?
It really is, and what I found really interesting was I was literally in the middle of my team prep to face Gabriel, and he messaged me saying, "Yo, I want to battle this week," and I was like, "Oh, okay," and that's all I heard of him. He didn't say anything else, but yeah, it's really good to see Sizz back because obviously it's happened to him quite a few times before, and it's not really that fair or nice to see, but yeah, I'm happy to see him back.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is not the only managerial change. Jedi is taking a temporary leave of absence from his post leading the Highland Houndooms, and replacing him temporarily is going to be Ethan, aka Erasmus Gaming. They've got a nice little mirroring partnership there going on. Jedi, of course, took over from Erasmus in the PPL when he couldn't take part there. So yeah, we've got Erasmus involved in this league now, and the final one, Dan, aka CG, he unfortunately has had to step back, I believe, for the duration of the rest of the league. A lot of IRL stuff getting in the way, which it does tend to do, and sometimes you do have to prioritise these things. So we have Kyle, K to the 2. He is taking over the Blastburn Rovers. So Ethan and Kyle, what do we think of them, Jack?
Well, Ethan, I'm really intrigued to see, mainly because he didn't get much of a chance to do anything in the PPL last season, because he had to leave for IRL things too. So I'm intrigued to see more about his playstyle and how much he's learnt about this league format. It'll be useful scouting for Season 2 of the PPL, I think, but it's also extra practice for him, which is really good.
Yeah.
Kyle, he obviously knows what he's on about in this league format. He's been working for the GBA for a while, along with other, and now I can't even say that word, analysts.
Yes.
Don't want to pronounce that wrong. He's obviously had the job of looking into lots of things, so he might have an idea as to what Pokemon are good, what's bad, what kind of playstyles are good in this format, and so on. They've obviously both inherited teams that they didn't draft, but I think they're both pretty happy with what they've got. So I'm interested to seeing what they're going to be able to do this week.
Absolutely, it's going to be fascinating to see how they adapt to taking on a team that is not necessarily of their choosing.
So, I mean, obviously, I've had to do that myself.
Yes, absolutely.
Luckily, in my opinion, Scissor's draft is really strong.
Yeah.
He's got the likes of Lando and Megalopunny. So luckily for me, I had some good things to play around with, but it still doesn't change the fact that you have to play with what you've got. It's not accustomed to your own game style or things like that. So
yeah,
it'll be really interesting.
It will indeed. So that is the news on the managerial front out of the way. Let's get into the games that happened in the week just gone, and we'll see exactly what our managers and their teams got up to. So first up, we saw the battle at the top of the table. Anima and the Golden State Dragons taking on Enzo and the Swiskers, both of them with a 3-0 record at the time. Anima managing to be the one to maintain that perfect record, taking the 2-0 victory. And you know, they both had some really cool sets. You know, we've come to expect that from them by now. We saw some very interesting things. Psych Up Tangler was one thing I liked, and Heel Block Latios.
See, I have written down here, what was Tangler's role? I obviously missed that bit.
Yeah, I mean, the thing, we didn't get to see them do what they were meant to. Anima had other things to put in work, like Reuniclus and Medicham. They did huge things. But, Enzo was bringing some very interesting stuff as well. The Scarf Willow and Victini.
Yeah.
AV Suicune. Not every day you see that with the Mirror Coat.
I think Mirror Coat has been proven to be a pretty good move in this format as well.
Oh, yeah,
with Milotic
absolutely.
And Suicune in other leagues.
Yeah. So there were a few things I was a bit about with Enzo's choices. Bringing Trick Room versus a team who'd used it very successfully last week was a
I thought that
risk.
Myself. I've seen Anima use it, and I was like, why would you bring that?
Yeah, it was a huge risk. It looked to be paying off at one point. I would say this was a fairly even game. There was a lot of back and forth. I think that at the end of the day, Enzo had answers, but not enough answers. Lost his spinner a bit too early with Victini and Curum still around. And, just wasn't really able to deal with that Reuniclus until it was too late.
No, I was really impressed by that Reuniclus. It used Chansey perfectly as setup fodder with Infestation. I didn't even realise it got Infestation.
Very
I do,
useful
and now
move
I'm
to
scared
have.
even more, because Reuniclus is good anyway, and now it just got better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it was really nice to see. What else did I also have noted down? Victini, as always, was just a huge threat. And so all he had to do was bring it in, click V-Cray, and something on Anima's team was going to die.
Yeah.
But obviously it was limited. That's why the Stealth Rocks was so key.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought they both played pretty well, but I don't see Anima being beaten anytime soon.
It's going to be tough. It is indeed. Moving on to the next game, Jack, then.
Okay, well, we have Eric, manager of the... You're going to have to tell me with this stream, because I can't remember their team names.
Eric, manager of the Bristol City Fletchlings.
Yep, and then Richie with Live Wemple FC. I remember that one. It was a close game, 2-0 to Eric in the end, or the Bristol City Fletchlings. I was talking to Richie earlier with Shroom, actually, and Richie said he misgenned, I can't remember what it was, he's meant to run Toxic for Ordino.
Yeah, he misgenned
and I wasn't actually sure did Ordino have Heal Bell in the end?
I don't know if it was shown.
Because I haven't seen any of the team building things. I've just seen all of the matches. From what I saw, Toxic would have been really beneficial because it did come down to a lot of wishing with Florges versus wishing with Mega Ordino.
Yeah.
And Mega Ordino done what it was meant to do perfectly. And I think it was just too overwhelming for Richie, really. Scarfed Milotic.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure, but the Aggron was really interesting as well. The Surf, as soon as I saw him use Surf, I was like, oh, please kill this Rhyperior. Make Raikou cry.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen, obviously. I'm also quite surprised that, I don't know if he did, but he didn't use it, why Richie wasn't running Iron Head on Kyurem.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. He ran Zen Headbutt, really prepping for poison types. I would question that. It really, for me, only hit Tentacruel and Meanshao. Unfortunately, neither of whom were there.
But then again, I think Tentacruel and Mienshao would probably just die to a couple of Dragon Claws.
Yeah. And especially in the case of Tentacruel, something like a Fusion Bolt would really hurt it.
And I mean, it's the same with Golbat. I wasn't sure if he had a poison move or not. And why
I'm not sure he
didn't. But I think that might have been what he's meant to be running Toxic on.
So
that might
it was.
that.
It was. Again, Richie has a very strong draft, and people are just finding ways of dealing with it. And people raised eyebrows when Eric drafted Mega Ordino. It's certainly starting to come good, isn't it?
Yeah, we've joked about it in the PPL before. It's like, you draft Mega Ordino. It's only worth this much. It can't be that good. Oh wait, you come over here and you see actually it does a lot of work.
Yeah. On Eric's side, I think Schady would have been happy to see those speed EVs going to good use. Schady is the speed creep master, of course.
Indeed, he is.
But some very interesting sets on either side, as Jack has mentioned. The Scarf Milotic, the Special Aggron. Very good game. The games are starting to get a lot closer. The highest margin of victory we saw this week was a 3-0. 1-1-0, and everything else was a 2-0. So, very close stuff. Indeed. Pretty much all across the board. So, moving on, we have the third game. The Welshions taking on the Slovenian Arcanines. So, Frido versus Xenon. And we saw Xenon take his second victory, a 2-0 for him, leaving both teams on a 2-2 record.
These guys have literally swapped form.
Yeah, pretty much. It all started very well for Frito and very badly for Xenon, but it's something of a sort of turning of the tides. There were some interesting decisions, I would say. Leaving in a Dragonite first turn against a Sylveon.
Yeah,
I don't know.
When I first saw this and Xenon was taking some time, I was like, you know what, multi-scale weakness policy could be a thing, and if that does happen, it could just be good game already.
Yeah.
Because Dragonite at +3 after a Dragon Dance and weakness policy, I don't know if there's pretty much anything in existence that will live any hits. So I was a bit worried, but then I saw Hyper Voice one-shot, and I was like, I got really confused at that point. That multi-scale didn't actually save it. So, I mean, I haven't done any calcs or anything to test it, but yeah, I got really confused by that.
I mean, Spec Sylveon is a huge threat, certainly not to be messed with.
Definitely.
Clearly, I mean, thinking maybe that the Ironhead was going to do more, or maybe looking for that cheeky first turn flinch. Neither forthcoming for Xenon, but able to pull it back. You know, he had the Keldeo, which is a massive threat in this kind of format. Unfortunately for Frito, he didn't really have too much for it. He didn't have any counters, which meant what he had to do, every time Keldeo comes in, he had to sack something in order to bring in the Mega Manectric.
He got it stuck in his head that it was Choice Specs as well at one point. And that meant his plays weren't exactly the best.
Yeah,
When the Hidden Power came out, I was like, right, that's got to be Hidden Power Bug.
Yeah.
Because it would hit Zorok as well.
Yeah.
I believe. And then he didn't... I don't think he really sort of realised. And then he sort of switched into Empoleon, thinking it was Hidden Power Poison, potentially.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Secret Sword is always going to kill that Empoleon, as I know from past experience. But, yeah, when I saw Keldeo wasn't... or was like Expert Belt. Was it Expert Belt in the end?
I forget. Was it? I think it might well have been.
But I was really glad to see Xenon using it, because when I faced him, I was really scared of Keldeo, and he didn't bring it. So I'm really glad to see him actually bring it and do work with it.
Yeah. I would say that that Frito played a few things well. He played his Zorok well. I liked how he used
that's
that.
what I noted down. It done early on in the game, knocking off the Choice Scarf off.
He lost his
really
scarf very early.
And it almost enabled him to win. Almost. It was a roll, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And when he mentioned overheat, I was like, you could go for the... He should have probably gone for the overheat to try and get the 1-0. I mean, I don't want it to happen, but obviously he could have then banked on a crit Thunderbolt.
Yeah, something like that.
That would... When it came to that, I thought that's your only win condition. It's the only way you're going to win. But it was a shame that Crocodile lived on such little health. But Crocodile's a great Pokemon, so...
Yeah. Absolutely. So, fourth game... What do we have? Yes, this is one that I'm very interested to hear Jack's opinion
on. Well, we have Gabe of the LA Galux Rays versus Sizzawesome of the Somerset Sizzles. Now, this was going to be me playing until like the Wednesday night, where Sizz was like, "Yo, Jack, let me play this." I was like, "Okay." Sizz's choice of Pokemon kind of confused me. Oh, and it finished 1-0. To Gabe, by the way, LA Galux Ray. But it was very close. It came down to 9 HP on his Ambipom.
Yeah.
So I can't dig into Sizz too much, really, because it was that close in the end. I noted down at the start, I was thinking, why'd you bring Lopunny when he has a Gliscor, which I know you get Ice Punch, but it's still going to eat them up. Rotom Heat and Uxie around. And I'm like, you can't really do too much to them. But he bought it and it got 3 kills. Mainly because of fake outs and whatnot.
Yeah.
I honestly thought he needed to bring something that could have dealt with Uxie better, because otherwise I felt it would have just been sitting there. And he bought the great Citrus Berry Recycle set, which I know you're a fan of.
I mean, Gabe, if you're watching this, you have no idea how overjoyed I was to see Citrus Berry Recycle Uxie. One of my all-time favourite sets. And a joy to see it being used, and being used effectively. Took hits all over the place. One thing I mainly have written down here for both, no Spinner or Defogger.
No.
Neither of them had one, which was a problem. It came in. But there was good things certainly on either side. the team building on Gabe's side was excellent. He predicted Sizz's team very well.
Yep.
His EVing was very effective,
Yep.
allowing him to outspeed Scarfers with the tailwind up, which was what he was mainly planning around, and did do it very well.
Yeah.
He defaulted to U-turn a little bit too much, and it
Just a little bit.
did nearly come back to bite him. That one turn against Lopunny didn't work out for him, but he played very intelligently in the end game.
When he traded Ambipom, he switched it for Doublade. I got a bit confused as to why he was going to bring it.
Yeah.
Because I looked at my team and I thought there doesn't seem to be too much that it will hurt. But then actually watching it over, I think I underestimated Ambipom a bit too much. I think a lot of people underestimate Ambipom.
Yeah, easy to do. But it's certainly not to be slept on.
Yeah, I have a few other things noted down. There was a play I suggested to Sis because I said, all right, you can take over this. Just please bring offensive Gramble because I'd done some calcs that can OHKO a lot of things. He didn't. I was really fearing this Scavalier, which Gabe didn't actually bring.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh right, you can bring Fire Punch for that. Bring Playra for Altaria, Crunch for Uxie, all sorts. But it didn't really get anything. It didn't get a chance to do anything. But I was really. It made me smile when he actually played the Facade straight after a Will-O-Wisp. I was like, how on earth did you know that was going to happen? But that was cool. I still think Sizz could have won at the end.
I agree.
If he'd have played his... he could have sacked off Roserade to the... I can't even think what it's called now.
To the
Monkey.
Ambipom.
Yeah, Ambipom. Protect again, live a return, kill the Scald.
Yeah, it might have been down to a roll either way, but it might have given him a better chance, like you say.
Yeah. And also the lack of Scald burn. I mean, it took so long for him to get the first Scald burn. The lack of the Scald burn on the Ambipom was slightly unlucky, but if that had happened, it would have been a 1-0 to Sizz.
Yeah, but a markedly better performance than week 1, we have to say.
Oh yes, definitely, especially after having like a 3-week gap in between.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then my last note here was it hurt me with a love heart with a line draw.
Well, that will happen when you take over a team for a small amount of time. To see it not get the result you're after is got to be a kicker. So, 5th game, we saw Schady take charge of his final game in charge of the Blastburn Rovers to take on Jedi in what's going to be his final game for a little bit of the Highland Houndooms. Schady managing to grab that win. Was that the right game?
It was the 3-0.
Yeah, the 3-0 to Schady.
Yes, Schady, yes.
I'm getting mixed up with the previous game. So yeah, Schady taking that big first win, getting him up to 1-3, the same record as the Highland Houndooms. Top work from Spaceman. Always like to see a little bit of Spaceman.
Freeze-dry Mamo.
Freeze-dry on the roasting switch was fantastic. And yeah, he just brought something that really Jedi wasn't too prepared for, which was the Specs Thunderous.
No, nothing.
Jedi just had nothing for
my
it,
bullet
really.
point here is Thunderous, circled, exclamation mark.
Yeah.
That thing just absolutely took lives. It was disgusting.
He didn't have a massive amount of stuff for Sizzle, I think, but he was able to deal with it fairly effectively in the end.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Typhlosion.
Yeah, Typhlosion was a potential issue, you know.
I mean, that Fire Blast miss meant he had to take a large chunk of damage on it. If he'd hit that first Fire Blast, that thing could have just done a lot of damage.
Yeah,
which was a shame. I always like seeing Typhlosion do a lot. It's my favourite fire starter.
Yeah, it's always nice to see it put in some work.
Yeah.
On Jedi's side, some interesting stuff. Sludge Bomb on Metagross. Interesting decision. I actually quite liked it because Poison is a type that would hit a fair amount of Schady stuff fairly effectively. Maybe, he called it Toga Killer. He wanted it to kill things like Togekiss. Maybe he would have been better off just going full balls to the wall, stab Meteor Mash.
I'm looking at the team. I can't remember what the rest of Sigi's squad is, but I'm starting to wonder why he even bought a poison move.
Well, we can pull up that squad real quick and see what he was working with.
If it's for fairies, especially over Stab Steel.
Yeah, I mean, he does, of course, have the potential to go with that Tangrowth.
Okay.
Which would have done a nice job of walling Metagross pretty effectively. other than that, there were some nice decisions. I like Life Orb Skuntank. I like what Jedi is doing with Skuntank this season. It's proved to be a very, very nice selection for him, actually.
Yeah.
And he's used it very, very effectively.
Yeah. It's a shame that he got tricked, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. It did nearly work out for him in the end.
Yeah, it did.
Managing to get that scarf and do some nasty things. Mr. Mime.
It got a kill.
Can we talk about Mr. Mime for a little bit?
It got a kill.
It did get a kill. Mr. Mime isn't a bad mon. We've said this many times before. And I just wasn't really expecting him to follow up on that Smack Talk from a few weeks ago with the double slap Mr. Mime.
Aww.
Which he did bring. He did bring the double slap Mr. Mime. And just to add insult to injury, it was forced out early game by Mama Swine, which is the one he wanted to double slap out of the league, quote. But yeah, I mean, he just didn't really have answers for Specs Thunder and not too much for the Typhlosion either.
I mean, Specs Thunder, it has like base 135 or 45, doesn't it? Or something
it's
ridiculous
something mental like that.
With a slap of Specs on it, there's not many things that will appreciate a Thunderbolt.
Absolutely.
But no, good team building by Sigint, good game, ending on a high.
Yep. So, to the final game then, Jack.
Yes, we had buys with the Twin Leaf Tyrants,
Yep.
who is also the other person I played. So this worked out pretty well, evaluating Xenon, Scissors, and Prizes.
Yeah.
Playing Josh, Squirtacular, manager of the... I can't remember this team.
That is the Kentucky Kekleons.
Yeah, that one. 2-0 to buys. Josh still not won a game this season.
Yeah, but it's not through him playing badly.
Well,
really.
what I noted down here was he had total control at the start of the match. He was making the right plays, the right predictions, and it all sort of went wrong when he switched in Zard on Stealth Rocks. And I was like, what are you doing? He didn't have a spinner. Oh no, well he could have on Mew, but it was an offensive Mew, I think.
Yeah.
By the looks of it, which meant he didn't have a spinner.
I'm not sure that he did.
So I got a bit confused at that point, which meant as soon as Buys got rocks up, it was going to be great. His Pidgeot, easy MVP of like the whole league this week.
Yeah, I like how he's using Pidgeot. It's so tempting to just go max special attack, max speed, but he's trying utility sets. He's trying this one, I believe, was specially defensive.
Yeah, he bought that against me too. It's also interesting to see because Toxic can't miss with No Guard, of course.
Yeah.
Roost, obviously, Hurricane, you don't even need investment, it's just going to do a lot of damage on a lot of things. I mean, Shaman's weak to it, Scolopede's weak to it, Zard doesn't appreciate it, Raikou does resist it, but you're not going to stay in on a Raikou anyway with a Pidgeot, are you?
No. Well, I mean, maybe if you're Troy. Maybe Troy loves switching things in on Raikou, of course.
The only other thing I have noted down is offensive Mew was really cool, and the Iron Head did lots of damage to Clefable, and it's always nice to see a Clefable get hurt because
it's always nice to see a Clefable being able to be 2-hit KO'd.
Yes, it's a real pain.
Yeah, Tyrant's had Bice made some very interesting decisions. Scarf T-Wave is a nice option.
He bought that. The majority of this team was actually the same as what he bought against me.
Yeah,
It just didn't work out.
Yeah, I was questioning having two T-Wavers against the Kekleons, who have some Slowmons and a couple of immunities. But it did come in clutch. It looked to have come in clutch versus the Scolipede, which is, I guess,
if you look at Josh's team he bought this week, 5 of the 6 Mon have a base 100 or higher speed stat.
Yeah, that is true.
What's Cabalion's speed? Do you know?
Caballion, off the top of my head,
is that like 108 or is that something else?
It's a pretty fast Mon, I believe.
Because if Caballion's above 100, every single team member of Josh's had over 100 speed.
Ah. Well, then that'll be why so much.
That'll be why there's so much Thunderwave.
Yeah, I mean, he does have those options. You look down, of course, for every one he has that's very fast, he has stuff that isn't particularly quick. P2, I'm looking at you. Kekleon, I don't think is over base 100.
No.
Mandibuzz isn't amazingly quick.
No. But I mean, he had other things then. Weavile were taking care of a lot of things. We all know Weavile's deadly in these league formats.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, Josh and the Kekleons, for the fact they haven't managed to win a game, is by no means a view on how good or not good as a trainer he is, because he's played very well. He's had some very nice ideas, especially this game. He had a very nice Volt Turn core. The Healing Wish on Shaman was fantastic, and it
Yeah.
so nearly worked.
It's the roost that saved buys, otherwise it would have been a good
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, the roost really did come in clutch for him. Able to just have enough to hang on and take out a Scolipede who was starting to look a bit threatening. Now it wasn't paralysed and back up to full health. But yeah, we've said it before about Josh. He's not playing badly by no means. He's just coming up unstuck a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's almost difficult to pinpoint why. Because as I say, he's playing well, and he will get those wins. They have to come. They have to.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the 6 mon he bought this week. They're not exactly bad Pokemon at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. He doesn't have a bad draft. He's not a bad
that
player.
I don't like is Charizard X.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't manage to do anything in this game either.
No, it's a good Pokemon in its own right, but it hasn't done anything in this league so far. Too amazing, and we also know from our PPL experience, Tito's wasn't able to enhance.
Yeah, no, it's
very well either.
Sort of come with a stigma attached to it of not doing well in league format, but you know, we'll see how well Josh sticks at it.
Then he could get one Dragon Dance up next week and just proceed to sweep everything.
Yeah, this will be when it just gets a 6-0 for him.
So yeah, that was it for the games.
Yeah, that was it for this week's games. So, a look ahead to the future to see who we have next week. So, the games we have next week, I'll be going over these, I think. We'll get the thoughts of Jack to see what he thinks of the matchups as well. First up, we're going to see Anima and the Golden State Dragons. They're going to be taking on the Blastburn Rovers under new management, of course, Kyle. And what a baptism of fire for Kyle this is going to be. Taking on the 4-0 Dragons. What do we think of that?
It'll be interesting because it works that way for Kyle, but it also works that way for Anima. Anima will have no idea how Kyle plays, what his thinking is. She'd have had at least a slight more of an idea of how Dan plays after watching 4 weeks of him playing.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. Both of them be stepping into no man's land, basically, like week 1 again. But they both have good teams. Anima has obviously got the momentum. Kyle's just stepping in. He hasn't got any sort of momentum on his back. So it will be interesting to see if Anima can keep going. I did say Anima's going to be just winning everything from now on. So I'm going to go with Anima just because she's on the winning streak.
All right, fair enough.
But I could be wrong.
Well, as we say, something of a baptism of fire for Carl. We'll have to see how he does in that game. So, second game, we're going to see Bice and the Twin Leaf Tyrants. They're going to be taking on Fredo and the Welchions. Tyrants sitting at 3-1. Welchions, after, as we said, that good early form, currently sitting at 2-2. And we should say a bench trade happening for the Welchions. I believe that Crawdon is in place of Crobat.
Right.
So yeah, Welchions versus Tyrants. An intriguing matchup. What do we think is going to be going on here?
Well, looking at Bize's team and knowing what he has, Crawdon's going to be extremely useful.
Yeah.
Especially with the the trio. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's not going to live in Aqua Jet at all if its Sash is broken.
Yeah.
And what else? Aegislash is a thing that will not appreciate a knockoff at all. So I think that's a relatively smart switch. Looking at this team, Fable might be more of an issue now.
Yeah.
After losing the poison type. So it'll be interesting to see what Fredo has for that. But Fredo needs to win this game to maintain hopes of getting that playoff place. Because he did start off so well. But it's just kind of faded a bit.
It certainly has. Third game, we're going to see the Somerset Sizzles. Sizz's team at 2-2 currently going to be taking on Richie and the Liverpool FC, who are sitting at 1-3. So, as an interim manager of your Somerset Sizzles, and indeed as a friend of Richie's, what do we call here? What do we call here?
Friendship is irrelevant. I obviously want. Because I'm friends with both of them.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But obviously, I will want the Somerset Sizzles to go and win the whole thing now.
Of course.
I mean, Sizz has lost his 2 games. I've obviously won the 2 games I had. Just throwing that out there.
Just to get that one out there.
Just to get that one out there. Yeah, in case you missed that. But he needs to. They both need to win. To obviously have the chance of the playoffs. Richie's got less of a chance now. He'll obviously be 2-2 if he wins. 2-3 if he wins, same as Sizz. Or Sizz will be 3-2 if he wins, rather. So it's a key game for both of them. I don't know how I feel. Obviously, Richie's squad is just a team full of nukes and then just bulk, and it's horrible and disgusting to look at. But then Scissor's got, well, Megalopunny and Landorus, and sometimes that's all you need to take out half a team. It will be interesting to see how this goes. I have a feeling Landorus might be key to this game, especially with Kyron Black hanging around. Once that's gone, he could do a bit of work.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But I wish good luck to both of them.
Yes, of course. We always, not that we as analysts particularly want to choose favourites. Jack, of course, is in that position where he's affiliated with a team already. But, you know, we just want to see everyone do as well as they can in this. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these games will affect the playoff positions. Speaking of games that need to be won, we have the fourth game is going to be Enzo and the Swiskers. They're going to be taking on LA Galaxray and Gabriel. The reason that is a must-win game, both of these players are on 3-1 at the moment. This is a potential second placer. Someone after this is going to be sitting at 4-1, which, you know, depending on how other games go, that might even put someone in first. This is going to be a very big game. Enzo has been playing incredibly well. Came unstuck, of course, against Anima in that big top-of-the-table battle.
Yeah.
And Gabe, you know, Gabe has shown himself to be very, very good in this kind of format. He's been learning to sort of do his homework and really pay attention to the kind of things that can be brought against him. And speaking of things that can be brought against him, a bench trade for the Swiskers, Enzo has brought Landorus Therian in for Titar, I believe. So removing Titar from the field of play, no weather on that side. But Landorus Therian, great Pokemon, of course. Very, very highly rated.
He's one of the. He is pretty much one of the best. He is probably the best Intimidate user, along with Manectric. U-turn, Stealth Rocks, defensive, offensive, Rock Polish, all sword stances. Just once one of them's up, you're just like, oh god.
Yeah,
it's a great pick, and I'm looking at Mega Venusaur's situation here. I'm thinking it might have a bit of joy this week.
Yeah.
Especially with things like Altaria, obviously Thick Fat, Nullifying, Rotom Heats, Overheat. Azumarill won't be doing too much to it. Ambipom might be able to use Acrobatics, I guess.
Yeah, we saw Mega Venusaur come through very, very clutch.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows Mega Venusaur's just bulky.
Yeah,
and
very
it doesn't care about
down.
super effective hits, especially with Leech Seed, Symphysis, Giga Drain, and then you have the likes of Sludge Bomb, obviously to deal with the fairies. That'll be a really interesting game. I mean, Enzo shouldn't feel too disappointed with his loss because obviously it was against the top dog of the league. He just needs to get back on the high horse and go again, really.
Yeah, and we should say that. Oh, hang on, I'm getting ahead of myself to the next game. I was going to say we should say something about one of the players involved, but that's actually for the next game. I'm getting ahead of myself. Very sorry. It's very exciting times, you must understand. The game I wanted to talk about just then, the fifth game of the upcoming week, we have Squirtacular, Josh and the Kentucky Kecleons sitting, of course, unfortunately at 0-4, looking for their first win. Will they be able to get it against Eric, Ashton Akai and the Bristol City Fletchlings? They, of course, sitting at 2-2, and we should say the bench trade there. Agron has gone down to the bench to be replaced by Whimsicott, and you might be saying, what are you talking about? He doesn't have Whimsicott. That's something we're going to get onto once we've gone over these last couple of games, because some transfers have happened, some inter-team trading has gone on, which we'll get onto, as I say, after we've talked about the last game. But Kecleons versus Fletchlings is going to be a fantastic game. Really looking forward to that one on a personal level.
It's quite simply a must-win for Josh. Otherwise, that's his playoff hopes gone, I'm afraid to say. Yeah. To put it into harsh reality, that's what it is. But honestly, Josh just needs to find a formula to make it work. Eric's obviously got the win last week to get him back on his track, as you might say. He might be on a high. He was getting innovative with his sets and might make it hard for Josh to predict what he's going to bring. But Josh, I honestly think Josh should just play without any sort of things sitting on his back. He's got nothing to lose now by trying things, because he's already in a pretty dire situation as it is. But if he can combine him playing well and playing well for the rest, or for the whole game rather than for parts of the game, he should be okay and get a win at some point. And I mean, when you have Shaman, Mew, Charizard X, Raikou, Cobalion, Shaman, I don't know if I said Shaman, all sorts of pseudo legends and megas and whatnot like that of that caliber, you should be able to get a win somewhere. So I have hopes for Josh to win, of course, and it could be this week.
Yep, and as we've said, there is very little more dangerous than a high caliber battler with nothing to lose. So we might want to see Josh go a little bit balls to the wall with his sets, but we'll see what he decides to bring against Eric. Final game is going to be the Highland Houndooms, interim coach there, of course, Erasmus Gaming, Ethan, stepping in to take charge of the 1-3 Houndooms. And once again, a baptism of fire for the newcomer, going up against the in-form Xenon and the Slovene Arcanines, who've taken 2 wins from their last 2 games. And very quickly, I should mention, Xenon has decided to bring in Spiritomb for Piloswine, which is a trade that I really do support. Spiritomb is a great mon, and having used Piloswine in this format, I'm not a huge fan of it, but you know, if anyone's going to be able to make it work, it's going to be Xenon. But going to be benching it for now for Spiritomb. So, a tough match for Ethan, wouldn't we say?
Of course. Xenon was my first game. And being in the Pokemon community for many years, I know Xenon as one of the original PokeTubers. The one who I learned a lot of stuff from. And I'm like, oh, great, I had to play Xenon.
Yeah.
Now what? He's a great battler, we all know that. He comes up with his own gimmicks, his own sets. He does the maths where he has to. As you can see, he's beaten Frito. Frito's no one to laugh at. And he's got his 2 win streak currently rocking. And like Kyle, Ethan's a bit of an unknown quantity. I was an unknown quantity to Xenon. Look how that turned out. I mean, he was not expecting at all what I had from the little chance he had to sort of analyse my playstyle. So that could work in Ethan's favour here, being an unknown quantity. Jedi has also got some interesting Pokemon choices. So the gimmicks could be flying around in this team, and it could really catch Xenon off guard. But I'm intrigued to see how Ethan will do, because obviously we didn't get to see him much in the PPL, and I hope he does well. Obviously PPL bias is non-existent here.
Of course not. Now, with that out of the way, those are the 6 games that are going to be taking place as of this week later on. As I mentioned, that Ashton Akai, Eric, and the Bristol City Fletchlings had benched Aggron for Whimsicott. And as I said at the time, surely you're thinking he doesn't have Whimsicott. But I should say that trading has begun in earnest between teams. And Eric of the Bristol City Fletchlings has been rebuilding his team, like really revamping it. 3 trades, I believe, have happened. And all of them pertain to the Bristol City Fletchlings. First up, trading Superior for Jedi's Scizor, which is a very interesting one. We also saw him trading out Thunderous Eye for Enzo's Chansey, and Weezing, as we said, for Frito's Whimsicott. So Scizor, Chansey, and Whimsicott come into the side. Superior, Thunderous, Incarnate, and Weezing go out. Fascinating stuff. You know, when trading started, we thought, maybe a couple of people are going to go for it. But Eric right in there with 3 trades, rebuilding completely his team. What do we think of that? Because it's a lot to process.
It is. I'm not sure whether he should have made 3 trades in the space of 1 week, because they only get 4 trades in one.
Yes, I believe
season.
So. Yeah.
So he's only got 1 change left. I feel as though the transfer should probably be used to sort of, if you literally have nothing for a team, maybe is the situation you should use a transfer. But if that's how he felt his team needed to be changed, obviously go for it. I think in GBA, Schady proved that Superior can be an enormous threat. Everyone knows it's an enormous threat. It does one thing, but it's the best thing at doing it. Once you get up to a +4 Leaf Storm, you don't appreciate it. Obviously, I was originally a bit confused as to why Jedi let Scizor go, because we all know Scizor is an amazing Pokemon. In this format, in whatever format. But then I realised, actually, wait, he has Metagross. He has still got a Fairy Killer. They both get Bullet Punch. Obviously, Scizor might hit a bit harder. But I think that's an okay trade. It gives Jedi's a really powerful Pokemon. It can also obviously go defensive as well, with cool moves like Leech Seed, Glare, Sub, all sorts. So I think that trade's pretty interesting, to say the least. What was the second one?
That was the Thunderous Eye traded across to Enzo. In replacement was Chansey.
Well, Chansey's always going to be a good Pokemon to have. I mean, if you want a wall, it's pretty much one of the best out there. Behind Crest. So yeah, don't let him get Crest. But yeah, I think it depends. If Eric's happy with all of the power he has, I guess it makes sense. Obviously, Chansey is a stealth rocker. It can just soft boil in your face. It can toxic stall you. It can heal bell. It can seismic toss. It's a really, really annoying Pokemon. It also means that you kind of force your opponent to run a certain Pokemon in a certain way to take it down. It kind of means you can expect knockoff or a physically offensive fighting type. So if Eric wanted bulk, I'd have to say it's a pretty good trade. Thunderous Incarnate's going to be a big loss, though, I think. Obviously, Prankster, nasty plot. Electric's just generally a good type. It's a Volt Switch user.
Yeah.
Keeping momentum in games in this league format is crucial. So it's a shame he'll lose out on that. But Chansey is always, as we know, is a disgusting Pokemon to try and take down.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's an okay trade. And then it was Wheezing to Fredo for Whimsicott.
Yes.
Well, having a Prankster... So, hang on. Prankster user is always nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with it being something as fast as Whimsicott. You can run offensive, bulky, just annoying Encore, sub-Encore. Not many things can get around that.
Yeah.
Only Infiltrator, maybe Boom Burst or Hyper Voice. I think Whimsicott is a really solid pick.
Yeah.
It's really versatile. Tailwind support.
Always very nice to have.
Glorious. Losing Wheezing, though, I'm a big fan of Wheezing. Wheezing does work in the lower tiers generally, but I mean, there's no reason why it can't do anything in this format. It's only weak to Psychic, if I'm right, because obviously Levitate.
Yeah.
Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split is its only form of recovery, which kind of lets it down. If it got something like Recover, it would just generally be used way more.
Yeah.
Obviously, especially as Poison's now a lot more important in the metagame with all these fairies around. Obviously, it gets access to Fire Blast as well for them Steel types that are immune. So the Poison gets... Does it get... I think it gets Taunt. Am I right in saying it gets Taunt?
Whimsicott, I
believe
so. Oh, Wheezing.
Wheezing.
I think it does. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that.
It's a great wall. It's a great wall.
It is. It is.
And I think Fredo wanted that anyway from the start. So if he knows what he wants it for, I think it'll be a great trade for Fredo.
Yeah.
And it's a great trade for Eric as well. I think that's probably my favourite trade.
I think that's one of my favourite trades. The other ones, you know, I worry now a little bit for Eric's special offense. He's got rid of Superior and Thunderous. Can't knock him for what he's got in return. Chansey is just such a special sponge. It will just eat up all the special hits. Anything that he couldn't already take with, I don't know, Dusclops, Gligar, and Aggron, and Mega Ordino. He's now got a Chansey and a Tentacruel, of course, to boot. This is going to be very difficult to take his team down on the defensive side. Scizor is a monster. We know this. I can't knock him for that. Nope. He's got rid of Superior and Thunderous. They're two of his premier special attackers. And I don't think Jedi's got the best deal out of it. He got Superior, but he's already got Mega Sceptile.
Yep.
Which just does that kind of job. Admittedly, it doesn't have the contrary, but it does get stab on Dragon Pulse.
Yep. Unless
Thunderous
he's used
Eye
it
for
himself to initiate another trade.
Might well
I'm
have
not
done.
sure. It could be some sneaky business there, but
Enzo, I think, has actually done very well out of this. Enzo has got
definitely.
a Thunderous Eye. That's a fantastic mon. It
really
boosts up his special offense. He now has a Volt Switcher to go with Victini's U-turn. I think Enzo's done very well out of this. I have to say,
definitely.
I think he might have actually done the best. Eric has got some very nice defense, and of course the Scizor is always nice. And as
he's
going to
be a real pain to knock down now.
Yeah, he's going to be a pain to try and take down with those walls.
Of course.
Going to be difficult to surmount them, but we'll have to see how our managers do.
Yep.
And finally, this is the time in the TBU Union News where we like to have a look at what some of the managers, and indeed in some cases our analysts, last week Schady got involved, are saying about each other as Jack coughs his way.
I wasn't coughing on purpose. I was actually just choking. But
Well, it's funny that Jack should be here because our first little bit of information and news does involve our very own Donphanatic. As we know, he's sticking around. If Sizz is back to be sort of taking over his team once again, Jack will sort of be staying around to help Sizz. And if there's one person who likes to try and knock Jack down, it is our very own Squirtacular, who has basically said, I wouldn't call that help, referring to Jack's ability to help out Sizz with team building and stuff, which I'm sure hurts you to hear, Jack.
Not really after my response. No.
Yes,
I mean, he's still
was,
0-4, so...
His response, saying that it's funny you talk shit, Josh, that's pretty much your whole team. Interesting, very interesting. Did you play against Josh? I forget.
I didn't have a chance to 6-0 him, no.
Oh. Didn't have the chance to 6-0 him. Josh, what is your response to that? That is a continuation of the smack talk that we've seen. Let us know. Tell us your response to that, Mr. Squirtacular. I'd be very interested to hear them. Our second little bit comes courtesy of Jedi starting off really hyping up his Mr. Mime. Of course, getting himself another KO with it in the match just gone against Dan, Sigi and the Blastburn Rovers. Suggesting that it was a premier sweeper, which I then posted a GIF of because that's what I like to do sometimes. Post GIFs and all this kind of stuff. Suggesting that it might well be a premier sweeper. At which point, our very own league organiser Fredo waded into the fray, saying, Jedi's Mr. Mime is good at lying on the floor, does that count? I'm not sure if Jedi actually plays against Fredo, or if they already have. I'm going to try and very quickly look and see.
I missed that, so that is brilliant.
I wonder, do they play against each other? I'm actually just taking a very quick look to see the Highland Houndooms when they take on our host of the league, and I'm not sure that they actually do it. It might be one of those matches that just doesn't happen. Highland Houndooms.
I think there might have been some
yeah, they don't.
vendetta in there.
It's very unfortunate. I don't think that Fredo and Jedi will actually play against each other, which is a terrible shame because I would like to see if Mr. Mime is able to sweep, which would be very entertaining to watch. What do we think of that? What do we think? What did you think of Mr. Mime as a selection and so far its performances?
How many kills has it got? Is there a record?
I think it's got 2, and it's only been involved in 2 games.
I mean, that's 2 more than I expected it to get. So,
there it is.
I mean, I've used it obviously in its respectable tier in Smogon. Yeah. Obviously, that's completely different. So I don't think it's even been tested in this format. It's a fairy, which is always good. Psychic and fairy are great. It's a nice offensive typing. Obviously, you get the immunity to dragon as well. So I guess that might have been thinking. It's actually a lot faster than you'd give it credit for.
And more specially bulky.
Base it's 120. Like 120 special defense and 100 special attack, which is nice.
Yeah.
But obviously its HP stat is absolutely abysmal.
Yeah.
And that just basically contradicts its special defense and its physical defense. It just doesn't appreciate a physical hit. But it's outplaying what I expected it to, I think.
It is indeed, and we'll have to see if it can prove Fredo and many of its other doubters wrong.
I have to join Fredo and say I don't think it's a sweeper.
Well, Jedi, there it is. Another person does not think that your Mr. Mime is a sweeper. So now the ball is in your court, Jedi. In fact, it's actually for the next couple of weeks in Ethan's court. Erasmus taking control of the Highland Houndooms. We'll have to see what he can make of Mr. Mime. But that is actually going to wrap things up from this week's Union News. We've gone on for a fair amount of time, longer than we normally do.
But there was a lot to discuss.
A lot to discuss indeed. I'd like to thank you all for joining us this week. Indeed, I'd also like to thank Jack, the Donphanatic, for stepping in sort of last minute for Schady. We might see Schady back on Thursday for the power rankings, which will be the next video on this.
No power rankings.
Jack doesn't have any power rankings, so we kind of need Schady back for that. But yeah, Jack, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Shroomraver.
Any last words of wisdom and nuggets of advice?
Words of wisdom. Says you better win this week.
There it is.
That's it.
That is all he has to add.
That's all I have to say.
But yeah, thank you all once again for joining us. I'd like to remind you, this is very much opinion-based. The only fact we have are the results and the who got KOs and who didn't. Our opinions on what people brought, they are just our opinions. And we do encourage you, of course, to leave your own opinions. Let us know what you thought of the games, and who indeed you think is going to win in next week's games, and who you thought came out on top of those little smack-talking bits at the end. But as for us, we're going to get out of here. The next video you will see on this channel, I believe, will be on Thursday, where we have the power rankings. Hopefully, Schady will be back with us to update his. But yeah, that is going to wrap things up. So, once again, we thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time, TBU fans. Take care.
Bye.